Good morning, church. In this section of Matthew's Gospel, we find a series of parables which Jesus told. Last week, we heard Jesus tell the parable of the sower. And you remember, the sower went out to sow. We listened how this was a surprisingly different kind of sower, one who cast seeds extravagantly and lavishly. Because in the economy of the kingdom, one does not live by the motto, waste not, want not. One trusts that there is enough love seeds and grace seeds to go around, so don't be afraid to sow extravagantly. For even the trodden path and the rocky soil needs the love of God and the seeds of the kingdom. You can't waste in the kingdom. You can only sow extravagantly. Now, one of the intents of Jesus' parables is to expand the horizons of our thinking, to have us imagine the world in new ways. And once seen, once experienced, one cannot go back to business as usual. I won't go into all of the scholarly reasons why, but there are reasons to think that only the core of this parable today was original to Jesus. The Gospels were written 40 to 70 years after Jesus lived, and in the time of Jesus' parables, creative things happened to his parables. Here is how the parable might have been heard as Jesus first told it. Jesus taught, "The reign of God may be compared to a field in which a good seed was sown. Weeds sprung up alongside, in between the good seed which was growing. Let them grow together, and at the right time the harvest will be full. For those who have ears to hear, let them hear." The first insight I hear Jesus inviting us to consider is just how messy life can be. How easy it is to get things mixed up, how difficult it can be to determine all the whys and the hows. How you think you're doing it all right and then discover how wrong you got something. Jesus was teaching that at times it's hard to tell one thing from another. What seems like a good deed just might have bad motivations behind it. What seems like a selfish act might just work out to be a good thing for someone else. There are good seeds sown, and when we look back, weeds sprout up, and we can't initially tell them apart. Sometimes it takes years to determine someone's heart and motives and intentions. It can take years sometimes to figure out what's a good program and what was maybe a lousy program from the start. I hear Jesus saying, be patient. Things will, in time, reveal exactly what they are. At times, we are too quick to judge, too quick to get rid of something or someone. Jesus also teaches us this. Right smack in the middle of life, in the middle of our everyday living, the reign of God is growing, whether we recognize it or not. Remember the sower casting seeds everywhere and anywhere. God's purpose is being produced right here and right now. God's reign is active and powerful right here and right now. But sometimes it's hard to see, hard to determine what can look like a weed and what is wheat, and what looked like wheat just might be a weed. Most of you know that my mother has quite the green thumb. She did her best in the past to pass that on to me, but my thumb and my hands like to read books. Growing up, one of my chores that I had to do was to go out and weed the flower gardens in our yard. Of course, I knew if I pulled up her precious plants, rather than the weeds, I would be seen as incompetent and get out of that harsh work. Now, I didn't do that, but I can report that along the way I did pull up some plants by mistake. I also pulled a lot of weeds over the years. Jesus wasn't giving farming advice in this parable. Jesus was giving us life advice, giving us a glimpse into the reign of God. So first, I encourage all of us to allow the seeds we plant to grow. Allow the seeds that others plant to grow. God will use what we plant, and there will be a harvest. Right in the same patch of field, the weeds grow alongside the wheat, and the wheat grows alongside the weeds. Have patience. Judge less. Love more. Watch as they grow. God's reign will reign. Goodness sprouts and grows each day. Also, be realistic. You ain't perfect, and neither am I. Just ask my wife. Realize this, too, that God's grace gives us plenty of time. God doesn't just pluck us out of the field when our weediness shows. God is patient and slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. That's part of the reign of God. Since Jesus first taught this parable almost 2,000 years ago, weeds and wheat have been growing together, and in time the harvest is seen and known and gathered. And so it will be. And so it will be for the rest of our days. So today and tomorrow, sow the seed that God has given you. Sow seeds of love, seeds of grace, seeds of compassion, seeds of justice and mercy, seeds of friendship. Sow seeds of interdependence, seeds of brotherhood and sisterhood, seeds of unity, and seeds of peace. Yes, weeds will grow up right beside the seeds you sow, and you might even sow some weeds along the way. But that's how it is in God's kingdom. There are the kingdom seeds growing right now in this place, in this community, in your life. And there are some weeds too. Jesus taught us. The reign of God may be compared to a field in which good seed was sown. Weeds sprung up right alongside, in between good seed which was growing. Let them grow together, and at the right time, the harvest will be full. For those who have ears to hear, let them hear. Amen.